Alright, well, would you believe it? Another Magnavox, this time a ZV427MG9 4-head hi-fi stereo. And the first thing I kind of see on this one is maybe the spring is not there, but it's not springing back like it should. So yeah, there, it just flipped open. It will not stay shut at this point. Customer included a note. Some info is redacted from this. The VCR will not accept VHS tapes. It doesn't respond. Well, have you tried putting a beta tape in it? Just saying. Jason from Spartanburg, South Carolina. God, I hope he's still there. He shipped this out before the Milton happened. Thank you for working on this. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone in the family is recovering well after the accident my daughter got in. Almost 2 years ago. Still not 100%, but close. Anyhow, there's where we stand. Let's go ahead and pop the top on this thing before we even try to put a tape in it and see what it wants to do. One moment. All right, so from all outward appearances, it looks pretty doggone good. Very low hours. Over here, if you look at the pinch roller right there. What do I have it in manual focus? There it goes. Almost no time whatsoever. I see no residue on the video heads at all. That could maybe be a problem. Well, they were stuck. That does happen sometimes as they sit. We'll have to see. You have to pull it apart. There might be some glue that migrated. It's working better. That's much better. It just needs to be exercised, that's all. Sometimes the glue does migrate on these things and it causes problems. But I have not even powered this up. Once again, wanted to bring you guys along, see what you thought. Oh no, it still has the NSA tracking device on here, the M tag. We'll definitely have to remove that. Sensomatic? I'm not sure which one. The shoplifting thingamabobber with the magnetic stripe, blah, blah, blah. Hard to see, but there is a display, just the 4 dashes. Let's hit the power up button over here. And it does light up. Does it stay lit up? And it sure looks like it. Well, let's see why it does not want to take a tape. Maybe that was the whole problem? Who knows? Ooh, nothing. No movement at all. Is the loading motor stuck? Huh. Well, that's interesting. Normally they try to do something. And the power is still on. Huh. That's a new one. Okay. Oh, this might require actual troubleshooting. I'm going to try to manually load this by hand and then power it on and see if it wants to eject it. And that'll tell me what the system control is thinking. Okay, so I've hand loaded this thing all the way down and the loading posts are starting to go up. You can see as I rotate the loading motor, it does continue to load. So the next thing I'm going to do is power it back on. Power has been removed at this moment, so we will power it on and see if it wants to eject at this point. There we go, power on. And hit the power button on the front and it lights up red. And it went off. Lights up red and went off. So I think that we're missing a power supply voltage for the Capstan motor because that is what is responsible. I'm just moving this back and forth. Make sure it turns freely, and it does. That's what is responsible for moving the loading motor right here. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and... Did the fan even start? Let's take a look at the fan back here. Power on. Oh yeah, the fan does start. Okay, so one of the power supply voltages is actually working. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull this thing completely apart and see if we can measure some voltages where the Capstan motor meets the main board and see if we're missing something. I'm betting we are. So I thought I'd go ahead and check and see, does the DVD actually open? And it did. Now it's dead. Great, that works out good. Power it off, power it back on. Hit the eject button. Oh, interesting, because it did unload. I swear, you got to trust me on this. This thing actually opened and then closed. And now it will not do anything. But the fan was running. You can see the fan trying to run back there, and then it does shut down. It thinks there's the tape in it. Okay, there it goes. It opened. It closed without me helping it. But still, the loading mechanism has not moved. It should at least try to unload and do something, and then the fan did stop. Okay, let me get this thing disassembled. One more moment. Okay, so here is a pinout that goes to the Capstan motor from the main board. And I want to go ahead and measure these voltages. 12 volts, power on 5 volts. And then down here, ground on 10, always 12 and always 18. I'm almost betting we're missing one of these things unless we got a bad Capstan motor driver, because it is responsible for the loading motor forward and reverse. So let's go ahead and try to measure these voltages. One moment. Okay, so if you recall, pin 10 is going to be ground. And so looking at this, probably going to be that one right there. 1.7 ohms. Yes, that one is ground. So this is pin 1. You can tell by the 1. And then this is going to be pin 12 right there. So put this back in volts. Put on the 60 volt range. Apply power to this thing. And so pin 1 should be always 12. 11.7 volts, I'm fine with that. Pin 2 is going to be power on 5 volts. So I'm going to hit the power button over here. And the red light is lit, but I have 0 volts. There I have 1.4 volts. And the power is off right now. The LED is off. We'll hit the power button one more time. Power has been applied. And the light is off at this moment. So we're missing our power on 5 volts. Let's keep going. So pin 11 should be my always 12, and pin 12 should be my always 18. And it is there. So the biggest problem that I see is that we're missing the power on 5 volt source. And it will not even try to power up at this moment. So let me go ahead and remove power. Power's been reapplied. The light is red, and I got 0 volts on here. Power on. The light is red. I have 1.4 volts. I should have 5 volts. I need to follow that line and figure out where it comes from. So let me go ahead and print up another schematic and try to figure out why we are not getting our power on 5 volt source. So looking at this on the schematic, it's pin number 2, and it goes over here through a 10K resistor and a diode, and then it disappears over here off of the board. So we need to figure out where the power on 5 volts is actually coming from. Well, like I said, let me print a schematic out. We'll try to figure it out. One moment. Okay, so here is the power on 5 volt 1 reference. Sorry, it's at a slight angle. There's a cat laying on the workbench. And it comes out of Q1057. 11.2 volts on the collector, 5.8 on the base, and 5.1. Is that right? Can't quite see it. There's a line on my camera in the way. Yeah, 5.8 on the base and 5.1 on the emitter. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find this Q1057. And I believe it's right, because I've been here before, I swear. I think it's right over here somewhere. Right there, Q1057. So that is the, what's it labeled as? P on 5V motor. .4 volts. And so I do have my 11 volts on the collector, obviously. And the base is only 1.7 volts. Let me power this thing off and back on. 6.5 volts on the base, but only 1.4 on the emitter. That transistor is bad. But why did it go bad? Let's power this thing off. Go to ohms. I'm still on the emitter right now. I've got 242 ohms. So one of the things I'm questioning, I've had this problem before. Let me get this schematic back into view. Is this capacitor right there, C1544. It's a 220 at 6.3 volts. Those have a tendency to want to short for some unknown reason. Go figure. So let me try to find C1544, and we'll try to get that guy unsoldered and see what it checks like out of circuit. Alright, I just got to get it out of here without doing too much damage. Okay, there it is, 220 at 6.3 volts. Had problems with these in the past. What does it measure out of circuit? So there's the voltmeter display. It's on ohms right now. And it actually measures good. I'm going to go ahead and change it just to be safe. It does have leakage at this point, 21 megohms. And I would have thought it would have charged fully by now. Well, let me find a replacement and we'll go from there. One moment. Alright, so let's go ahead and install a brand new 220 at 6.3 and a brand new KTC3198 switching transistor. So the capacitor goes obviously where I unsolder this, but the transistor goes right there. So let me get that unsoldered, we'll get a new one put in and see if it makes any kind of a difference. Okay, new transistor installed, new capacitor installed. Let's go ahead and apply power and see if we get 5 volts. If everything works well, as soon as I apply power, you'll hear the loading motor try to run to eject the tape. Here we go. And I hear stuff happening, and we have 5 volts. It did eject the tape. So the next question is, let me zoom out here. There's the power button right there. And there we go, power on. See if it stays on or if it shuts back off. And I'm going to say we have a win on this. I've got 5 volts right there. So checking the transistor now. So we have 11.1 on the collector, 5.71 on the base, and 5.02 on the emitter, which should be about 5.02 or 3 over here. Yes, perfectly fine. And it is staying powered up. Power off. So now we should have 0 volts right here. And yes, we do. Okay, let me flip this monstrosity over and we'll try to put a tape in it and see if it needs a mode select switch cleaning as well as a prism, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on. Okay, here we go. Right side up. Let's get these over where you can actually see what's going on here. Power on. I do have 4 dashes on the display. I know you can't see it because you have to be looking at this angle right here. Power on. The LED did come on. And it is in one of the modes. I'm not sure which one. But let's grab a tape, pop it into it. See what happens. And it's making a weird noise, but it is actually playing. And it did shut down, so it probably is detecting a lack of real rotation. Did eject. We'll try it one more time. It seems to have no back tension. Oh, maybe a little bit. Just a couple of grams. But it is actually playing. Well, let me get the capture device connected and see if it's putting out a video signal. One moment. Okay, well, it is actually playing back a VHS videotape. The quality is excellent, I would say. Although this is an SP recorded tape, you can tell by the speed right there. And so that is working. Does the DVD drive work now? That's going to be the next question. Open, maybe? There we go, open. Let me find a DVD disc to put into it.
Which statement was what I focused on, which was specifically the political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. He said,
and we'll stop the VHS.
12 years earlier when he was 16 years old.
Stop. And we'll switch it over to the DVD mode. And it shows that it is loading. And it did load, so we'll hit play. And look at that, the DVD does actually work. That is excellent. So the DVD plays, the VHS plays. I'm probably going to go ahead and service the mode select switch and clean the optical sensors, blah, blah, blah. All that good stuff. Check the DVD caps. And just to make sure this thing is going to be 100% bulletproof. But anyhow, that's where it stands right now. You go ahead and put this thing back in the chassis. Actually, let's go ahead and do the mode select switch first, because the first time it loaded, it did not load successfully. So I do suspect a defective mode select switch. Let's see. Let's eject the tape out of here. Perfect. We'll eject the DVD out of here. Then I'll power this thing off, remove the DVD player and the power supply board, and we'll go ahead and service the mode select switch, as well as clean the prism and the sensors and whatnots. Okay, one moment. Okay, let's get ready to clean the mode select switch by removing this one screw over here. This is a machine thread screw, or a fine thread. If you look at it closely, you'll see that it has very fine threads. And then tucked underneath this ribbon cable, be very, very careful here. This is going to be a plastic thread screw, or a much coarser thread, if it will come out. As you can see, that thread is much coarser. That goes into plastic. Okay, let's flip this thing over. We should be more or less in the home position right now. And we can lift this up and get to the mode select switch. That's perfect. It's lined up absolutely perfectly straight up and down. Give it a little grasp and lift it up. And let me zoom in on that if I can. And definitely, yes, it does need to be serviced. I see a bunch of oxidation, tarnish on the silver. So I will get my acetone out. I'll get my stainless toothbrush, and we'll go ahead and give this thing a quick scrub. One moment. So I just want to wipe it down with a bit of acetone first. Acetone will not hurt this switch. It does not eat the plastic that they use to manufacture this switch. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a stainless toothbrush update. It's just going to scuff up the silver-plated contacts. And they should be nice and bright and shiny when we're done. And I do like that much, much better. Hit it with a bit more acetone. I'm not sure what happened to the cotton on the other end of this swab, but it is definitely seriously stoved up. Okay, that looks much, much better. We'll set that out of the way. Get this into view for you here. I just want to go ahead and do a quick brush of the contacts. Only go in one direction. Give it a quick wipe down. And those contacts looks absolutely perfect. Okay, need to find my dielectric grease. It's somewhere. I'm not sure where. Give me one moment and I'll try to find it. Okay, I did find my dielectric grease. I'm just going to go ahead and get a nice little scoop of it here. We'll move this guy out of the way. And I'm going to apply that right here. This is going to prevent air from tarnishing the silver contacts anymore. And yes, there might be a cotton swab piece left in there, but that's going to be just fine. It'll move out of the way. Get that lined up so you can actually see it here. All right, those have been coated as well. Try and do this in real time. Snap it back down. Run it around a bunch of times. It's going to help distribute the grease. Just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and take a look at it. I think that looks just fine. Put that guy straight up and down. We will mate the circuit board back up to it. Don't know if you can see it or not. Try to get it into view for you. Where are we? Here we are. There's the mode select switch. And there is the chassis. The pin goes in the center of the mode select switch. There we go, just like that. And it is mated back together once again. Flip that back over. I will need to zoom out slightly so you can see what I'm doing. Plastic thread screw goes in here. Machine thread goes on this side. That does ground the chassis. Make sure you have a good connection to it. And I think we can go ahead and service the Prism at this point. Once again, trying to do this in real time. Okay, so I have a cotton swab dipped in glass cleaner right here. I've removed some of the cotton from it so I can get it down into this hole and clean the infrared receiver. And then this is the infrared emitter. And over here on this side is the supply sensor. And on this side is the take-up sensor. We'll wipe all those off. Now the dry end, dry off all the sensors that you previously cleaned. Get all the fuzz out of there. Okay, next for the Prism. So I'm just going to get a paper towel, shoot some glass cleaner into it, and then we'll just wipe this whole thing off right here. Cleaning all of the edges, all of the sides, anything that you see, because dust will cause the light or the infrared signal to be diffused out of this thing. I've had problems with these in the past, and just simply wiping them off solved the issues. Okay, I'm liking that. The gear goes in with the conical side facing up and then the flat facing down. Just like that. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't think this thing has much time on it just because of how clean everything is. I don't think this has got more than 10 hours of VHS use on it. It looks immaculate. So I'm not even going to try to touch the heads or the capstan or the audio head or anything. It just looks excellent. Let's go ahead and throw this thing back in the chassis, and we'll go ahead and replace this one problematic 4700 at 6.3 Suscon. It's a Suscon. That means it's suspect. We'll change that with a good quality. I think I either have Panasonic or Nichicons. Let me take a look here. One moment. Yeah, I've got some good quality. I believe these are Panasonic's 105 degrees Celsius rated caps. One of those will go back in, and we'll replace that Suscon that is going to fail in time. Okay, now on to the missing spring issue for the DVD door, because it should shut. And I do believe there should be a spring on this side right here. Let's try to zoom out just a tad. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a tab right there that I believe is supposed to push this door shut. There should be a spring down in here. Let's see if I can pump up the exposure just a tad, so that you guys at home can follow along. So you can see the tab right there, that little white spot basically. And there should be a spring that causes this to close. And the spring wraps around that part of the shaft right there. So I'm going to go ahead and look through a couple cannibalized units that I have and see if one of them might still have a spring attached. One moment. Well, I have another ZV427MG9 from a customer whose name is Douglas. I'm not sure who that was, but it does show that it has a surface mount device cap missing used from the DVD. I had to steal it to fix another customer's unit, and I stole the fan out of this one as well. And I believe it has other issues, but it does actually have the spring that we need. So let me go ahead and pop this thing apart, get the front cover off of it, and we will see what we can come up with. One moment. Okay, well, there's how it should be. There's the spring that goes in there, and that's what keeps the door shut. And just like I thought, it loops around that area on the side of the door. So I don't really want to just go ahead and swap the whole front panel over. So I'm going to try to get this open if I can. Let's put that back in there. Obviously it needs to be open first before I unlatch it here. How'd they put this thing? What the? How do they even make this stuff? Come on, people. Gotta bend. It's gonna break off. Okay, so I think I got it figured out. I don't want the spring to fall off. I want to see where it exactly goes. Oh, we can take it out this way. Okay. Or maybe not. Oh yeah, it does come out. Okay. So there is where the spring lives. Hopefully you can see it. It's in focus, maybe a little bit. So yeah, the spring goes against that tab right there. And then this just rolls up on the chassis. Okay, well, there's the part we need. Let's put it in the customer's unit now. And then there are my notes. C281 microfarad surface mount cap missing from component side. So this is a scrap unit that I use to basically cannibalize parts to fix other customers' units. Okay, the label has been updated to indicate that the DVD door spring has been used. Okay, let's put this back in the customer's unit now and make sure everything works okay. All right, well, there it is installed. Flap, flap. So now the door actually springs closed as it should. Where'd the spring go? Somebody had this apart, I guarantee it. I mean, quality control couldn't have left this thing out from the factory. Well, let me get the front back on this thing, and then we'll probably take the DVD board up, check the caps, clean the optical pickup, and we'll do a test on this unit. Okay, everything is back together. Let me shut that door so I don't get a copyright strike. Some music going on in the living room. Okay, AC power has been applied. Let's see what happens. I saw the fan start back here. You might not be able to see it, but I'll tip it up. And there it just stopped, so that's a good thing. Get this kind of centered up here. Okay, power button. Power LED did light. And I do see something on the capture device. Capturing in 3, 2, 1, capture. And it shows it is recording. Okay, so we are in the DVD mode. Let's switch it over to the VCR mode. Pop a tape into it. See what happens on the first try. Still made a
They
squeaky
have
sound, but
nothing to do with the case
it's playing.
except to ensure the death penalty.
Let me get a break. We'll come back with more. This is Larry King Live tomorrow night.
I don't know why it was
Senators Bob
squeaking.
Packwood, John
That's
Breaux,
weird.
Chris Dodd,
But it's
and
playing. The
Republican
picture looks
Chairman Harry
perfect.
Barber. We'll be right back.
Even that idiot Larry King looks good. Okay, that looks great. Well, let's go ahead and stop the VHS. And we will switch it over to the DVD mode and open the drawer. Let's get a DVD disc that we can play in this thing. Give me one moment till I find a disc that is suitable for playing. And we'll see if it wants to load this disc and play it. Made all the right sounds. Made the 2 beeps. That's a good sign when it loads that fast. And we'll hit play. And yes, it is actually playing. Does it have sound? That's the next question. I've had some of these with bad caps. Yes, it is playing sound. Of course, it is copyrighted. Steve Miller, Fly Like an Eagle. Yeah. Okay, well, everything is working perfectly as far as I can tell. Switch back over to VCR. We'll hit play again. And the tape is playing perfectly fine. All right, next, let's go ahead and pop this board open and check all the caps on the DVD board just as a preventative measure. One moment. All right, so ESR meter is out. I do have it basically zeroed. Pretty close. So let's start with the 3030s right here. 0.84, that's pretty good. 47 at 16, 2 ohms. I'm okay with that. 330, 0.33, that's good. 47, 4.3, that's a little bit high for me. .31, good. 0.33, good. 0.26, better than good. 0.93, just a hair high. We'll mark that one. .26, good. 5.2, 5.3. I'm going to say that one's bad. Some 100s at 6.3. Hopefully you can see that there. 1.5, I'm going to call that one bad. And 0.43, that one is good. 47 at 6 volts. I'd like to see lower than 3.3. 330 at 6. 0.28, excellent. Another 330 at 6. 0.41, that's okay. Some 47s. 4.1, a little bit high. 4.5, a little higher than high. And 5.2. I'd like to replace all 3 of those caps. So looking at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 caps that are definitely bad, that do need to get replaced. So let's go ahead and clean the optical pickup real quick. This will probably work just fine as a DVD player, but it may not record discs. Recording the disc requires more current. The capacitors have to be a better ESR than just in playback. No, I didn't take the bracket off. It's just hard to get reinstalled without taking this bracket off right here. Okay, let's scoot this over a little bit, where you might be able to see what's going on. I'm going to move the optical block out just a bit. And one moment while I enable macro focus. Well, the optical pickup actually does look very good. I'll give it a quick wipe down just to be safe. Very light downward pressure and rotating the cotton swab as I'm rotating it. Okay, that looks excellent. Well, let's just put this back together. I'll give the customer an estimate. It's up to him if he wants to go ahead and replace the capacitors on the DVD board or not. He may only want to play VHS tapes with this thing. And I did go ahead and mark this 4716 right there that measured 2 ohms. The replacements that I have measure 0.6 ohms, so much, much better. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at this. Part 1, possibly. There might be a part 2 if the customer approves the capacitor replacement. Otherwise, I think this thing is going to be good for basically DVD and VCR playback. I certainly hope you enjoyed the video. Go and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below, good or bad. I try to respond when I have time. While you're down there, if you could, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It really does help my channel grow. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X at NorCal715. You can email me, norcal715videos@gmail.com. As of right now, mid-October, actually late October 2024, if you want to contact me, please leave me a comment in one of the videos. I've got so many emails I haven't even had a chance to check, just because for every one valid email, there's probably 50 to 100 spam emails that I get. Unfreaking believable. Remember, with your help, we can try to keep these things out of the landfill, out of the recycle bin, and out of the e-waste facility. Everyone, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I really do appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. Thank you so much for watching once again. Bye-bye. All right, here we go. Capture device recording in 3, 2, 1. Capture. Oh. Hang on. Got to get a memory card. Okay, with the USB plugged in, let's try that again. Capture device recording in 3, 2, 1. Capture.
And statements in the same case. You just don't get
And it shows it is recording.
With respect to this